ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, women and gentlewomen, weebs and weeblets. My name is Creeder, alongside my beautiful co-host, Guns. Anyway, we're back. You know, life happens and stuff like that, but we're looking to start off the year right, and see where this year takes us in our YouTube adventures. Anyway, we have a very special video. We're going to be talking about the Sword of Kusanagi. Sasuke's sword, right? So, without further ado, let's jump into the anime side. And then my co-host is going to talk about the real life. And we'll see what happens. So, let's start off. The Sword of Kusanagi is Sasuke's sword. And it was his personal weapon throughout the entire Part 2 of Naruto, aka Naruto Shippuden. It has a black scabbard and matching hilt, and was a larger size than a normal sword. It had none of the nature specialties as the one Orochimaru wields, such as the extension of the blade and the ability to cut through almost anything, both of which are natural abilities of the sword. But it was repeatedly shown to be very durable and able to cut through various materials. Sasuke could expand on his sword's might by channeling his lightning Chidori into the blade with chakra flow, which would increase its sharpness greatly through high velocity or high frequency, as well as increasing its cutting range. This would allow Sasuke to cut through almost anything, as well as numb the target who has been pierced by the lightning blade. During the Fourth Great Shinobi War, a reanimated Itachi Uchiha, while cooperating with his brother, temporarily wielded the blade to engage Kabuto. Sasuke was later mortally wounded after being stabbed in the heart by the blade of Madara Uchiha. The sword was later discarded during his battle with Madara, while it was destroyed during his battle with Kaguya in her dimension. Sometime after the war, Sasuke replaced the sword with a new one. And that is Sasuke's sword, in a nutshell. So, very memorable. It's one of Sasuke's things. And he does have a new one now that he uses in Boruto and stuff. And if we get comments saying Boruto sucks, then go read the manga, because obviously you're not reading the manga, okay? You're only watching the dumb anime. But in the anime, or I'm sure in the anime, as well as the manga, he has his new sword. He's able to do things with it and stuff like that. He was fighting with the Sutsuki with it and all that good stuff. But yeah, he's known for using it and manipulating his chakra, more famously his Chidori, into the sword. So
Sasuke's sword, his design is good because it matches him at the time. But in practical use, I don't think it would be a sword that you would take into battle.
Dun.
The reason I say that is because it doesn't have a hilt, and if you get too much blood on it, the handle is going to be slippery. If you go for a strike and your hand slips, your hand's probably going to go on that blade.
But Guns, what if you have a good taint?
It don't matter what kind of taint it is you have. If you're holding it and it becomes slippery, at some point you're going to lose control of that sword. and it's either going to cut you or fly out your hands.
Anything else?
That's just my personal opinion.
I gotcha. No, I mean, as far as realistic, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, swordsmen have been around since ages and 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 ages. And you know, if you and as far as the culture aspect, you know, if you bring they're big on.
When we say hilt, we mean guard.
Yeah, the guard. So my way of looking at it, you know, throughout history and stuff like that, is, you know, the swordsmen are very honorable, you know, and that's demonstrated even throughout anime. You know, they're very big into honor and the traditions and stuff like that. And so, even though it might be heartbreaking, and to them it's like losing a family member when it comes to their weapons and stuff like that, from an honor standpoint, you wouldn't want to bring a broken sword into battle, because then you're not fighting at your full potential. You know what I mean? Would you agree, Guns?
Yeah, I would agree.
But yeah, you wouldn't want to bring a broken sword in the battle. You know, honor or not. You know, it's just not a good idea. I mean, I know they look on it on the honor side, but even on a practical standpoint, if that SOB is broken, you know, there's not much you can do at that point, unless it's a extreme or emergency, like it broke during battle, you know. But then at that point, you just fight to the death, you know. So, Guns, before we wrap up this video and stuff, how do you think that this sword could be improved for a practical use?
I would say it would have to have a guard if it's gonna have long use. But in the show, he never really uses it for long uses of time.
Well, he doesn't really. And I think when they were fighting Madara and stuff, I believe the time frame was a whole day. Now, that was the very start of the battle, so I don't exactly know the calculations with Sasuke going on there, but we'll say at least 6 hours. So realistically, if you were fighting a battle for 6 hours, and I may be wrong, you know, all the super experts can go on there in the comments and let me know for sure. But I'm gonna say about 6 hours, but from the time Sasuke actually got on the battlefield and started fighting, you know, until the end of it. Because he didn't use his sword to fight Naruto, you know. He only used it really during the battle with Madara and stuff like that until broken. You know, maybe even less than 6 hours, but we'll say 6 hours just because that's what my brain decides is a good number. If he was fighting all right, let me ask you this. In practical use, a 6-hour battle with no guard, how would it go down? Would you be able to make it to the 6 hours? Would you not be able to? Would you just cut your hand and then drop the sword and you would get sliced up and that'd be the end of it? Like, what's your thoughts on this?
It would depend on the battle and how it goes. And if he would get too much blood on it. Because I think if you get too much blood on Sasuke's handle without a hilt, without a guard, then at some point it would fly out of his hands or cut him. His hand would slip down the blade.
Fair enough. So, yes, a complete sword is very important. A guard is very important. All the parts of swords are very important. So they all blend together to make amazing weapons such as swords that we have. So, what's your final thoughts, Guns?
I think nothing is made perfect, but it always has room to improve.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely, I pretty much agree. So,
all right, everybody, this has been Gun Nation United. We just talked about Sasuke's sword and how it had some problems, and stuff like that.
still a good series though. You should still check it out if you hadn't seen Naruto.
Great series. I'm Guns, and this is Creator. And remember the golden rule: keep our ammo hot and your beer cold, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.